everybody, and welcome to Good Luck High Five, episode 533.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering, whether you are heading on out to March of the Machine pre-release this weekend.
Let's go.
Or you're waiting for it to hit online next week. We are here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And for everybody waiting with bated breath for our Minnesota weather update.
It is spring? Question mark?
We finally made it! We made it!
Like it really, it is warm today. I am wearing shorts.
Yeah, I was going to look at the weather because it just like went from winter to summer basically overnight here.
Yes, it did.
We have, you said it was spring, but it kind of feels like we might not be having a spring.
We're not going to, it doesn't feel a lot like spring.
It is currently 69 degrees, nice, in Minneapolis.
Although it does get cool again next week.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, well, we're going to do a little bit of celebrating.
We're like planning our spring cleaning at our apartment and everything. Yeah. Just being like, hey, do you know what? It's really here. You got to plan to like put up all the winter windows and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you who don't live in very cold climates, you literally have a second pane of glass that goes in your windows in the winter.
Oh, man. Do you remember, like in college, I would put the plastic sheets over and you had to hair dry them up?
Maria, I went to college in a place where that was not necessary.
Yeah, man. Oof. With the lengths we go to brave the cold temperatures here in Minneapolis. But now we're coming out of it, and I just wanted y'all to know that, the longer the winter, the harder they spring. So... On today's episode,
what does that mean?
We're going to be talking about March of the Machine because the pre-release is this weekend.
Yes, we're so excited.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully you're heading on out to your local game store to have a real nice fun time.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a good time. We're having Judge Rob on. Of course.
Judge Rob's going to be here to walk us through all of the new mechanics, tricky new cards, stuff that might be weird. Yeah. Which there is a lot of opportunity for weird stuff because we have a brand new card type in battle.
Oh my goodness. If you're like, hey, can you please be more specific? Yeah. Battles. How do they work? We will get specific.
There are some weird things that can happen with battles, everybody, and I'm sure Rob will talk about it.
Is going like he's got your back. He has all of our backs.
He does. We also have the Multiverse Legends cards, which are going to show up in your draft boosters this weekend, which can lead to some very interesting things happening.
Yes.
So we're going to go over everything with Rob to leave you in the best position you can be heading into your store this weekend. And especially since it's not going to be online first, it's in stores first. It's going to be on Magic Online and Magic Arena starting next Tuesday. So you're not going to have Arena there to help you out. So you do need Judge Rob whispering in your ear.
Yes, you do.
If you ever are feeling like a little nervous, he'll be there.
Don't worry.
We've got him for you. But before we kick off the show, a huge thank you to all of our beautiful supporters on patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
Yes, thank you so much, especially to our new patrons.
Yay!
Thank you to Victor.
Thank
you to Wing. And thank you to Franz.
Thank you so much, everybody. If you would like an episode dedicated to you, you can have that by going to patreon.com/GLHF Magic and becoming a new patron or increasing your pledge amount.
Victor, Wing, and Franz, this one is for you.
This is your episode.
If you're in the Discord, which you should be now, head on over there and claim which part. You can claim a rule.
You can claim a card.
Yeah.
You can claim a joke.
Exactly.
Any of that.
You can claim us talking about the weather yet again.
Yes, it's all fair game. You get to have whatever part of the episode you want because you are a new member of the family or an increasing member of the family, which is a weird thing to say.
Do you know what? You know how sometimes in your personal family, someone becomes more family?
How?
I'm just saying, Maria, we all know what happens, right? Yeah.
Well, I was family, but now I'm more family? I suppose if somebody was pregnant, they would be more family because they have another family member inside of them.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay, that is one way to become more family.
Anyway, just spitballing here. You can become more family.
Yeah, you can become more family and have us thank you at the top by increasing your pledge.
Yes.
More family.
More family. We also want to say thank you to Card Kingdom because we love them. And I was just like looking at card prices there actually last night.
Oh, yeah.
You can pre-order March of the Machine there right now before it goes on sale. Just go to cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Use that link for whatever you want to buy. This set looks very, very sweet.
Yes, it looks so cool.
I'm especially excited for Battles because it reminds me of when Sagas got released and it kind of just changed the game of Magic. I'm really curious to see how Battles will do for that kind of thing. So Card Kingdom, if you want to get yourself a box, play with your friends, singles, sleeves, whatever you need, they've got it for you.
Also, they are very family. I'm just going to say
Yeah, that is true.
They're very family.
They're very good luck high five family.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. They're
a lot family.
Pregnant.
Is that when they're gonna open, is that what you would describe it when they are gonna open a new store?
A new location?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Also, before we get started, I know Judge Rob always has a PSA.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
Are you trying to
PSA
Judge
I'm just
Rob?
gonna PSA pre-PSA.
A PPSA?
Yes,
Is that
the
what you're saying?
PPSA, like the pre-release or the pre-release. This is the pre-PSA PSA.
Okay. All right.
Which
hit me.
is if you stopped
my
masking,
God.
it's okay to start masking again because immunocompromised or otherwise vulnerable people in your life or just on the internet have asked you to. This is something that I've been thinking about just because I'm like, I generally stopped masking. And people were like, hey, it is really showing like a lot of support to more vulnerable members of the community who aren't going out and doing things because so many people aren't masking. And it's okay if you stopped to just start again.
Yeah.
To just be like, hey, do you know what? I shouldn't have stopped. So you can mask at your pre-release, even if you're the only person masking. It is sometimes really meaningful to members of your community who feel like they're being forgotten or left behind, as a lot of people feel like they can move on from the COVID health emergency being like, hey, I'm actually still a really vulnerable person to catching COVID. It could be very bad for me. It's really nice to keep showing support for those people.
Yeah, and you can just say, Meghan told me to.
That's right. You can also, if someone's like, why are you masking? You can be like, this person named Meghan told me to.
Don't worry about it.
No more questions, okay?
Wow, what if you and Rob end up having the same PSA?
Wow, maybe we will.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. The pre-PSA PSA.
The PPSA. My PPSA is don't pee on the toilet seat. Some people have to sit on that.
Wow. That, I feel like I should have seen that coming, and yet it still hit me hard.
Like you should have.
It's still, like, as soon as you said PPSA, I was like, I know where this is. I know the general trend. The general trend.
Yeah.
I can follow this to its conclusion, but you know what? Wow, it still hit hard.
Hey everybody, we've got Judge Robin here to get us ready for the March of the Machine pre-release. Yay! Hi Rob, how are you doing?
Doing really well. I just flew back from San Diego and...
Boy, are your arms tired?
Yeah, my arms are tired. Well, it's actually my butt's tired because I was sitting for a long time.
Absolutely.
But, wow, yeah. and we mean... Like you landed within about an hour.
Yes.
Yeah. I landed, Ruth picked me up and then I went home and I ate a quesadilla and then I drove here.
Nice. And then you watched me eat a quesadilla.
Yeah,
just right out there.
I did.
So many people eating quesadillas.
They're very easy to make. Like I literally just have 2 tortillas with roasted shredded cheese on it and throw it in the microwave.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Rob, the reason you're flying in is because you were in San Diego for the regional championship at DreamHack.
Yes.
This past weekend. How was it?
It was a really fun event. I was there with Magic Kids. I was there doing Learn to Play in the area there. But like when you went up to the Magic space, it was its own hall this time, which was really nice.
It looks so beautiful with the natural light.
Yes. It was gorgeous. It's one of the best like looking and feeling spaces for a big event like that.
You don't feel like you're in a dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. The dungeon was downstairs with pounding techno music that you could feel from across the room.
Wow, what game was that?
Rocket League. Every time they started a round, they had this very cool sounding techno drop that made you unable to hear or think for like a minute.
That is, I think, the end goal of techno.
Yeah, and like I am very excited that they're excited. But their volume was at about like a 14, and I needed it any number under a 10.
Yeah.
So like their tournament was very cool looking. They had hundreds of people there watching it. We were right out by the Rocket League stage.
Look, cars playing soccer. What more do you want? You know what I mean?
And like watching people air juggle is really impressive. Like I said, I'm very happy that they're excited about it. But like I was like, I need to tell people what a saga is. I don't. Sorry, we're going to pause for a minute.
Well, that's why we're so appreciative that after that saga of feeling music in your bones that you didn't necessarily need to feel, you are here to help us out with March of the Machine pre-release coming up this weekend. But we're going to start off your segment the way we always do with your PSA.
Yeah, my PSA is this is Future Sight 2. Is my interpretation. Like it's always or in some ways it's Future Sight 2. Future Sight 2 referenced future sets, future mechanics. It was jam-packed full of stuff that was references to things that either had existed or did exist. It's Time Spiral 2 is the other way to look at it. Where Time Spiral had every card had 3 references to something on it. And this is a set that it's a nostalgia trip for people who have been playing for 20 years, right? And it's a trip into Magic's history. And for somebody that like, I've got a friend that just started with Ikoria, right? And they're like, companions are normal. I'm like,
I can't think of anything less normal.
You sweet summer child.
No, but it's actually a cool perspective because he's like, hey, because
you don't know,
like, and he's like, the game feels a certain way because he started like after War of the Spark, and so he doesn't have all the history. He's never seen Alara cards before, and so. Don't talk down to people to be a superior jerk and like, I get all the references on these. Like, look, there are planes on here we were talking about before that's referenced on one plane chase plane from 2009.
Yeah, like
and
forever
so
ago.
I was like, is this a reference to the future? And nope, it turns out to be a reference from 14 years ago. I don't even get everything on these, right? We had to go look it up.
Yes.
And so instead of being like talking down to them, you weren't here for that. Be like, oh, cool, you get to learn about Alara, right? Or you get to learn about Ulgrotha or whatever for the super old people who played when Ulgrotha was a plane in 1996.
Give me the one sentence about Ulgrotha.
Ulgrotha's Innistrad, but with more baggage.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. You can have more baggage than Innistrad?
Has a lot of baggage.
Sheesh.
That is a great point.
A bunch of the cards are on the reserve list. Is actually the part of the baggage. It's the set that Homelands is from.
Oh, gotcha.
And it had it's cool and historical and like it's got this thing where like Sarah and Faraz were planeswalkers went there and they figured out how to make a shield around the plane so nobody could planeswalk in or out. And so there's this terrible artifact called Faraz's Ban and then it's kind of like a backwater of the plains. But then like the Senger vampires are ruling tyrannically over it, and all right. But it also has baggage of like reserve list cards, and like they made some creative decisions that we would not make today.
What a way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great point, Rob. Just let people have fun the way they have fun.
Yeah, and be excited about them being one of the lucky people that gets to find out about something cool. Like Kaldheim for the first time.
It's like when somebody watches your favorite TV show for the first time, you're like, oh, you get to see this for the first time.
Yes, I'm like, I envy you because like you get to watch The Good Place for the first time. Like
wow.
Right?
It's a special place to be. Good. Well, whatever.
It is a place to be.
It is a place to be.
I don't want to spoil anything about the show except that The Good Place is very good and you should watch it.
Yes. All right. You somehow haven't watched The Good Place?
Consider this. Wow. Consider this your sign.
Yeah.
We're going to kick things off with mechanics. We're going to go over the new and returning mechanics.
Yep.
Starting with returning, Rob.
Yeah. I like to start with returning, and I want to talk about one that's returned over and over, but I want to hammer a couple points about it. Cards that transform. So we've seen there's 2 types of double-faced cards, right? There's modal ones where you can cast either side, and there's transforming ones that start on one face and then transform to the other. These behave differently from each other in a gameplay sense. Modal double-faced cards can't transform. Transforming ones can transform. This set has them all the way down to common. So we've got Kenra's Spell Spear, right, is red and 1 for a Jackal Warrior. It's a 2/2. It has Trample and Prowess, and then 3 and a Phyrexian blue. Transform Kenra's Spell Spear. Activate this only as a sorcery. Phyrexian blue can be paid with either a blue mana or 2 life. And the other side of this is Gitaxian Spell Stalker. which is a 3/3 creature Phyrexian Jackal. It doesn't have a mana cost because you can't cast it to the side normally. You have Trample, Ward 2, Prowess on this card. It's a great text box. Each instance of Prowess triggers separately. It hopefully lets you know. So every spell gets you two buffs on this.
Yeah.
And with transforming things, there's basically 2 ways to transform it, and we get both in this set, which is going to cause some shenanigans, which we'll talk about later.
Oh boy, shenanigans.
So so for Kenra Spell Stealer here, or Spell Spear here, it is transforms on the battlefield. It just does its thing. It flips to the other side. It means it's the same object. It just changed some characteristics about itself. It got an added color because it changes from just red to blue and red. It gets an extra instance of prowess. It gets some ward. It gets bigger. But like continuous effects that applied to it still apply to it. So if for some reason you cast a spell before you transformed it, prowess triggers that prowess +1/+1 would apply to the other side.
Wow,
That's
wild.
Yeah, so like if there's a ritual effect that you need in order to make mana to be able to transform it.
What about if you had put counters or an aura on it?
Counters and auras will stick on it unless it isn't eligible for some reason. So like if there was a card that said Enchant Jackal, then that would fall off. That's a line they could put on there. Oh, it's still a Jackal? Oh, does it stop being a warrior? Oh, that's what it is. It stops being a warrior. Yeah, if there's something with Enchant Warrior, and it's not impossible for them to print. I don't know why they would do it, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Then that would fall off. So we'll talk about battles which transform, actually, there's 3 ways. I forgot about the third way, which we're going to talk about entering transformed. So Shieldred is black 3. She is a 4/5 legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor. We refer to Shieldred in short name and other cards. This is just Shieldred.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a title. She's too cool to have a title. She has Menace. When Shieldred enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. And then for black 4, you can exile Shieldred, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery and only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. So this is the second type of transforming, where something exiles itself and then comes back transformed directly onto the battlefield. Mm-hmm. The B side of Shieldred is the True Scriptures, which is a saga. Chapter 1 is for each opponent destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Chapter 2 is each opponent discards 3 cards, then mills 3 cards. And Chapter 3 is put all creature cards from all graveyards under the battlefield under your control. Exile the True Scriptures, then return it to the battlefield.
Is that all?
Yep, that's all it does. Wow. I mean, it takes a while to get there. You had to pay a lot of garbage to get there. But
so you mentioned that this exiles and comes back, and that was not the case with the previous card.
And so with the Spell Spear, it's the same card, and so it could attack, right? So if you had it on the battlefield since the start of your turn, and you transform it, the other side, the Cutest Spell Stealer doesn't have summoning sickness, it can attack.
Yeah.
Shieldred, if you finish Chapter 3 on the True Scriptures and exile it in return, she enters the battlefield. She's a fresh Shieldred. She gets the Enter the Battlefield trigger, which is very nice. It eats another thing. It actually makes Chapter 3 even more powerful.
But also, if you haven't won by that part... You've made some decisions.
Yeah, or
what is happening?
I mean, you could be playing Commander, and then somebody's like, fair, that's fair. I'm playing a Pillow Fort. You have to pay 15 mana to attack me, and you're like, so she'll enter the battlefield. She'll trigger again. She can't attack on the turn that she comes back from being the True Scriptures. And so all 5 of the Praetors do this, where they exile and then exile, become a saga, and then exile as the saga and come back as the creature. It's just a different way of transforming. Battles have the third way of transforming, which was introduced with Disturb, which is you cast them transformed. But we'll talk about that when we get to battles, which are they're very cool, but they're a whole nother thing.
A whole can of worms, you might say.
So Convoke is another returning mechanic, and this represents the peoples of the universe getting together to fight the Phyrexians. Zephyr Singer is a creature with Convoke. It's blue 2. It's a 3/4 creature Siren Pirate. It has Convoke. Your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting this spell pays for 1 mana or 1 mana of that creature's color. It's 1 generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. It has flying, it has vigilance, and when Zephyr Singer enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it.
It's our preview card, Rob. Did you know that?
I did.
Wink,
I
wink.
wanted to talk
It's a good
about
card.
it
It's a good card.
because it's very good, and the when convoked text is very cool.
Yeah.
It hasn't come up a ton. It's on a bunch of cards in this set. I like putting flying counters on things. It's very powerful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so convoking lets you tap creatures to pay for this. That isn't a mana ability though. So in a technical sense, the way that you actually cast spells in the figuring out costs, you figure out costs, how much you're going to be paying for this. Then you get to use all mana abilities. Then you get to pay all costs. Convoke is paying the costs. It isn't using mana abilities. So if a creature sacrifices to add mana to your mana pool, you'd sacrifice it to add mana. And then you couldn't tap it for Convoke because it isn't around at that point. There's actually an ordering to that. So there's some of those running around right now.
Sure, it's already been sacrificed.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, it's already been
Don't
sacrificed.
even with me.
So you might be surprised if you run into this ordering issue, especially on Arena, which is going to do it for you. You might make the mistake in paper because it's not obvious that this is the way that it works in paper.
Sure.
Land cycling. So I'm not going to talk about cycling in general, but we haven't seen land cycling in a while, and it's a little bit different. So Tidal Terror is blue 4 for a 5/6 octopus. Whenever Tidal Terror attacks, you may tap 2 other untapped creatures you control. If you do, Tidal Terror can't be blocked this turn. So it can pick up 2 things and ride around on them. I'm not really sure what the flavor of this is.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like, nope, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Like
Meghan,
you can tap.
I just got a vision of you playing this card. It was like,
You know what?
clear as day.
I also got a vision of me playing
Yeah,
this
no,
card.
I have. This is the kind of card that will make like most of my blue decks in this format. I'm pretty sure. But like, what are you doing? You're tapping 2 mice to let your octopus attack.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
don't know.
I
But
accept.
the thing that we actually care about is island cycling 2. 2 mana, discard this card, search your library for an island card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So special types of cycling like this are you discard them, and then when the ability resolves, you search. Just like with cycling, you draw a card. It is a type of cycling for anything that cares. So a card like Zenith Flare that counts the cycling cards in your graveyard would count this. It's just we haven't seen one of these in a while. It lets this modally be a land, which might make 100% of my blue decks, and it'll find any island. It doesn't just find basic islands. Any island card is fair game for this.
Nice.
So there's they printed a bunch of really good tap duels that are the land types. Not in this set, but recently.
Look, octopus is smart. They don't just get basic land.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Have you ever made an octopus mad?
What?
Side
in the
question.
real world or
Have
in
you?
Magic?
In the real world?
No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have. That's why.
Oh, you have?
I mentioned it. Well, because they're so smart, and you always hear how
Yep.
they're so smart. And there was one at an aquarium that I was at. It was for magic. We were in a magic aquarium. I mean, it wasn't a.
No, it was a Magic Aquarium. Keep
Magic
going.
Aquarium. Okay, continue. I'm
Really exciting.
And there was an octopus in a cage. That's not the right word. Tank. And it was like kind of up against the glass. And I was like, boop, boop, boop. And I tapped on the glass and it was like, boom, and slammed its sucker hand at me. Like,
Yeah.
it was mad.
It was like, don't touch my
don't
tank.
touch your cage.
Yeah,
my
don't touch
cage tank. Anyway, it was really creepy. And sometimes I still think about it. Anyway, I'm sorry,
No,
octopus.
that's
I'm sorry. Okay.
maybe you needed to ride around on 2 mice that
Yeah.
you couldn't block.
Yes, I mean,
That was the fatal flaw in my
The
plan.
fatal flaw. So we're gonna get to new mechanics.
All right.
We're gonna
let's
start with
do
the
it.
headliner, battles. Battles. They're a new card type. We got kind of teased this on Atraxa on the previous set. And they are wildly different. They are kind of like Planeswalkers, but they do some things that are very, very different from anything that's ever happened.
I'm so excited about
Yeah.
battles, Rob. They're so cool.
I'm going to use the most complicated rules card in this set for this. Also, it has an ambiguous phrasing on it that I'm going to have to explain because it's. I'm going to ask you what it means, and you're not going to be sure.
Ooh, okay, great.
So,
Megan
invasion-
gets these right and I get them wrong. Let's
Well,
play.
no, you can't guess. That's the problem. Is I had to go read clarification because I can't guess what this means.
all right.
So the invasion of Alara, white, blue, black, red, green for a battle. It's a siege. It starts with 7 defense. So that's like Planeswalker loyalty. It's going to come out and it's going to have 7 defense counters placed on it as it enters the battlefield. When an Invasion of Alara enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile 2 non-land cards with mana value 4 or less. You may cast one of those 2 cards without paying its mana cost. Put one of them into your hand. Then put the other cards exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order.
You're right, Rob. I don't understand why it says it like that.
I can tell you why it does. So the question is, like, what do you think that this does? Like,
Okay, I have my guess.
Okay.
My guess is so it says you may cast one of the 2 cards.
Yep.
So you have your 2 cards. You can pick to cast one.
Right, yeah.
Whether you cast one or not, you now put one of them in your hand.
Oh.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you cast one of them, I assume you can only put the one you did not cast into your hand.
I agree.
And if you did not cast one of them, you can choose one of them to put into your hand.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right, here's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you have the 2.
Yep.
You pick one, and either you cast it or you just put it in your hand,
Yep.
and you don't, and the other one goes on the bottom.
Okay.
What about that?
I have a question, though. What does them refer to on this card?
Them there hills.
Because there's a whole bunch of exiled cards, right? So like you play
one
this,
of
you have
them.
Invasion of Alara, you go, island, plains, 6 mana card, 4/4, right? And so you've exiled a bunch of things, right? Is the them all the exiled cards?
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because it could be, right?
Yes.
Sure.
But in this case, I'm guessing one is because it would not fit on the text
I
box if
agree.
they continued to try and elaborate on which
Yep.
them they're talking about. So I'm gonna go it is grammatically we'd say the most recent them to which we have
Right,
referred.
I agree. But Magic cards don't always do
Wow,
that.
that is
and so,
true.
like, I read this the first time, and it's like, I don't know what them is. And so I had to go to the release notes, which are very clear on this, that it is the things that you're saying where you, like, so you'll flip through, and there's 2 fail conditions here, which is you can't cast a spell, right? And so then you have 2 cards, and you're going to put one of them in your hand. Or what happens if you only have 1 4-mana spell left in your deck? Right.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
you flip through, you only find 1 card, and then it tells you to put one of them into your hand if you don't cast it. Right.
Oh.
Because you have to. If you elect not to cast that 1 card that you found, you have to put it in your hand.
Yeah.
One of those 2, the 1 card.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yep. It's double cascade kind of. So like I just found this very unclear, but I agree. There's no way to fit it otherwise.
Yeah, they just they
so-
really jammed that
They're
text
like,
in
look.
there.
Yep. They get extra text box space because of the side. Because the other thing about battles is they start sideways. I actually found this supremely annoying when looking up these cards. Because when you look at them like on a big view, like on Scryfall,
Yeah.
they're all sideways. And so I actually did most of this on my phone because then I could just like rotate my phone in the big view to see what I was looking at.
That's what people are going to be doing when they're drafting. Like, all right.
Yeah. Oh, especially considering that like split cards would not have that much text, right?
Right. And this is like, you got to read this.
Yeah, this is a
times.
paragraph of text. So the other side of this, so that
Oh, wait, there's more.
Oh yeah, no. There's a whole second text box. Let's talk about how we get to that other side first.
Yeah.
So we talked about it. This enters with 7 defense. This enters under your control. You get the trigger, and it's your permanent that you control. But you pick a protector that is some opponent. And
It can't be you.
Yes, that can't be you. And you're defending it. They're not targeted. It's just a thing that happens is that you make a defender. And if they somehow gain control of this, they will pick a different defender because you can't be the defender for a battle that you control. So you can attack this like a planeswalker or a player, even though you control it. You're attacking a permanent that you control.
Bizarre.
Very strange, which leads to another a knock-on effect we'll talk about a little bit later. But so you're attacking this permanent you control. It has 7 counters that are defense counters that are removed just like loyalty counters. Anytime that it is dealt damage in combat or outside of combat. There's a bunch of things in the set that say they deal damage to target creature, planeswalker, or battle. Or lightning bolt, which says damage to any target can target battles. They just added this new class of things. Lightning bolt got better because it always gets better every set. So when a battle runs out of counters, it has to have started with some counters and then lost counters in order to transform. And that is called defeating the battle, and then it is exiled, and then it is cast on the transform side. So this is the third kind of transforming.
So I can counter it?
Yes, you can counter the B side of battles.
Weird.
And the battles will have various things on their other side. They have creatures, enchantments, sorceries. There's a planeswalker. They could do anything on the other side because
That's
you're casting
wild.
it.
Yeah.
And so they give you the opportunity. The thing that they're not going to have on their other side is things with the type land, because you don't cast lands, and it gets very strange if you try to cast lands. So they're just never going to do that. They have a thing that kind of lets you cast a land, sort of. So the other side of this is Awaken the Maelstrom, which is a sorcery.
This art is sick.
Yeah, this is very, very cool. Awaken the Maelstrom is all colors, it says in the text box, because the other thing with battles, like transforming double-faced cards usually have a color indicator to tell you what color they are in the backside. There's no 5-color color indicator because it would be unreadable and ugly, is how they phrased it at one point. So it just has the ability, Awaken the Maelstrom's all colors.
Okay.
It says target player draws 2 cards. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. Create a token that's a copy of a permanent you control. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures you control. And destroy target permanent an opponent controls.
Nice.
So it's 5 different effects. It's 5 things from the 5 different shards of Alara,
Cool.
right? The thing that this does is it creates a copy of any permanent. You could copy a battle.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
So
Nice.
here's where things get weird. We have another mechanic coming up called Incubate that is double-faced tokens, which
Yes.
they're introducing. We'll talk about exactly what that does later, but the rules for tokens and double-faced cards are changing. Double-faced token copies of double-faced cards can now transform.
Wow, I did not know that.
Wow.
They couldn't before.
Actually.
Yeah, they could not before.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah, and they now they will be able to. So if you have a Huntmaster of the Fells and you make a token copy of it, like with Awaken the Maelstrom, that token copy will be able to transform now.
Holy
Wow.
cow.
But
That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It's very weird. It's huge. But you can make a token copy of a battle, which is a transforming double-faced
Yeah,
card this way.
absolutely.
This doesn't help you very much because you can't cast tokens. So you exile this and cast it
sure.
from exile, and so you might get got, right? If you make a token copy of a battle and defeat it and you expect to get a token copy of the other side, you won't. Which is why I brought this up, because this is a card
Yeah.
that specifically might do that in this set.
Yeah.
You might be like make a token copy of a battle. You'll get the front face trigger, and it'll just sit out there and you won't attack it, and your opponent will be like, why don't you attacking this token copy of a battle? And you're like, man, because I wouldn't get anything out of it. Also, tokens can't come back from exile. So that second kind of transforming, the Praetors, if you make a token copy of a Praetor expecting to exile it and have it come back, then
can't.
it can't. The token goes to exile and can't come back from exile. So we got an upgrade because the other thing that if you make a token copy of like the Keru Spell Spear that we talked about earlier, you can transform that now.
Sick.
And so you can make a token copy and transform your token copy.
This is a
Because that one,
game
it doesn't
changer.
go away. It just
that
stays
one
there
doesn't
and
go away.
flips.
We have another one that's extra weird coming up. That's gonna there's a battle that allows you to turn it into copies of things.
Oh.
Which we'll talk about that when we get to that card.
Let me ask this final question, Rob. So if I want to counter this spell, can I use something that cares about the mana cost? What's the mana cost of the backside?
The mana cost of a transforming double face card is based on the front face. So the mana cost of this, the mana value of this is 5. It has a mana cost of nothing.
Yes.
And so you look at the front face to determine the mana value of the card for transforming double face cards. For modals, it's whatever side is visible, and that's very important because otherwise, there's a minor misstep, right? That can counter target spell with mana value 1 or less. It usually can't counter transforming double faced cards that are cast transformed. It's not impossible for it to do so, but it would have to have mana value of 1 on the front face, which I don't think any of the battles do. I think the cheapest are 2 on their front face.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is, so I talked about how you had to lose counters off of this in order to transform it.
Mm-hmm.
If it somehow starts with no counters, how can this happen?
Vorinclex.
Yeah. Okay. So you can count it down to
Not this
Vorinclex.
Vorinclex, but a different Vorinclex.
The original Vorinclex could have it start with no counters. You could have something turn into a copy of it. Right? So you have a battle that's on the battlefield and you have something that says becomes a copy of target permanent, and that thing doesn't have counters on it right now.
Yeah.
It didn't move from 0 to no, it just always had no, and it'll die. If a battle has no counters on it or no defense counters, it dies as a state-based action. But because it didn't get defeated, it didn't move from some counters to 0, it won't trigger and get recast.
Important.
Yes. There's other very weird corner cases where you can like.
How is Bear driving car?
How is Bear driving car?
Keep going.
So the very weird corner case is you could, in theory, get defense counters on something that isn't a battle, then turn it into a copy of a battle, and then defeat it, and then exile it and cast it transformed. This is way more work than any sane human being wants to do, which means I will probably do it at some point.
I was going to say, Rob, you're talking about Magic players here, okay?
Yeah. So in that case, you can end up with impossible things on the stack. Like you can cast the back face of transforming double face cards.
Impossible things on the stack.
Yep. Yeah.
Sounds like a great ice cream cone.
You can put the back face of transforming double face cards on the stack this way. It is very strange.
Woof.
But you need to do something like animate a battle with the Ozlith on the battlefield, then destroy the battle with like a Vindicate so that you put the counters. I had a plan. It is not a good plan.
All right. Well, if you all want to know how you can do this, check back in with us. We'll check back in with Judge Rob in like 6 months' time. Be like, have you done it?
Yeah. Maybe I'll make an Oathbreaker deck to do it.
Okay, great.
So the other big new ability is Incubate. We have another smaller, a couple smaller ones, but Incubate's the big one that changes how tokens work. So like Elvish Vatkeeper here is 1/green/1 for a 3/3 creature Phyrexian elf. When Elvish Vatkeeper enters the battlefield, incubate 2. And its reminder text says create an incubator token with 2+1/+1 counters on it and 2 mana, transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. So like we were saying with transform, it transforms on the battlefield the way that it is. It keeps the counters that it has on it. So whatever you put counters on for incubate, it's going to turn over. And the token is going to be double-faced coming out of packs. It has 5 mana to transform target incubator token you control and double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So the two sides of the token, though, if you look at it, the incubator token is an artifact and it's subtype incubator. On the other side, it's an artifact creature, Phyrexian, and that's it. It isn't an incubator on the other side. So this elf can't hit the same thing repeatedly. Once it's transformed it stops being an incubator, and it's just a Phyrexian.
Right.
Which is, again, if you don't have the physical token, you might not realize it. But it is an artifact on both sides, so both sides can get destroyed. There's a bunch of things that interact with artifacts in the set to allow you to blow up incubators. I have a line in here that tokens can transform now. I have feelings about this. I don't actually want them to transform. I went through all this with Glee, the cool things you can do, and I don't think it's actually very good for like memory of like having to remember that a token can transform and having to have both sides of a token tracked. It works fine it's going to work fine on Arena and Magic Online.
It's just weird because it's been so long. It's been embedded in my brain that they just don't.
They come out on the other face and they stick there. If you make a Ravager of the Fells token, it won't change back into Huntmaster is how you always had it.
Yes,
right?
of course.
But now it can.
Bizarre.
Yep.
Truly bizarre.
Yep.
And also it being different for like, you can't, so that acts like a card, right? But then when it comes to exile, you're like, oh no, it's gone because it was a token.
Card.
And you're like, well, wait a second, but it acted like a real card in every other sense.
Exactly.
Which if I was a new player, I would find that pretty confusing.
Yeah, I think it's very confusing. I think that I've had problems with when they introduced modal double-faced cards, they like basically treat them and modal double-faced cards and transform and double-faced cards totally separately. And I think that it's at some point they're going to have to try to clear up and consolidate the rules for everything for transforming because I think it's just kind of a giant mess.
Yeah, I agree.
So the other new mechanic is backup. So Voldaran Thrill Seeker is red and 2 for a vampire warrior creature. She's a 1/1 and she has backup 2. When this creature enters the battlefield, put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature. So it could be her, it could be another creature, it could be a creature your opponent controls. If that's another creature, if it's different from the one that has backup, that creature gains the following ability until end of turn. It actually gains all the abilities listed underneath backup.
Oh my gosh, so you could put, okay, sorry, keep reading.
Yeah, so 1 mana, sacrifice this creature, it deals damage equal to its power to any target, is the ability that this gives out. So So for this, it gives up this one ability. In this case, the reminder text will vary depending on if there's multiple abilities that it grants. If it is an ability before the backup, which there's several actually that do, they have land cycling. Before the backup ability, that land cycling won't get granted down because it's listed before backup on the card. The order of abilities makes a difference. And if the Thrill Seeker gets other abilities from somewhere else, these two are actually kind of linked. Those other abilities aren't listed beneath the backup physically on the card, so they don't get granted. If you have something that like Enchanted Creature gains flying, well, that doesn't get granted by the backup.
So, for example, if you put the counters on somebody else's creature, you don't get to sacrifice.
You don't get to
their
sacrifice
creature.
it. It gives them the ability.
I thought for a second you
yeah.
did. And then I thought about it.
You could make a giant, like if you had like an 8/8, put two counters, throw it at their face.
Yep. But it's most relevant for Two-Headed Giant, which comes up a ton at pre-releases because Two-Headed Giant's very fun to play at pre-releases. You can back up your teammates' creatures to give them the abilities from your creatures.
That's sick.
So that's actually the thing because it's any creature. It's not any creature you control.
Yeah.
And so you get to do this. A lot of the backup things have a template that you see here, which doesn't come up that much, which is this creature. And so whichever creature has that ability, that applies to. In the past, you might have seen it would have said sacrifice Bolt Iron Thrill Seeker, and then you have to learn that if something refers to itself by name and an ability gets copied over, it refers to the new thing by name, and they just got rid of most of that templating-wise. They were like, we didn't want to use the phrase this creature, but we're just going to do it a bunch now.
I like the art too because she's just going to kick this Phyrexian right in the face.
Yes, she is. Oh. She's going to, kick their spine out. I
was going to say kick their head off, but I really love kick their spine out. She is getting ready to rip some throats, let me tell you.
And so the other thing with backup is it provides a variable amount of counters. You might have backup numbers from 1 through, I think it goes as high as like 3 in this set maybe. And so it hands out a couple, like 1 or 2 or 3 counters. And so you might put it on itself because like the worst case scenario is if you have no creatures in the battlefield, this is just a 3/3 for 3, which is great. And then you can ship it to go to the dome at some point.
Yeah, it's a good card.
I saw a bunch of copies. I don't know why they didn't put any words on this. There's a mill 2 mechanic that's in this set on a bunch of commons and uncommons, so like Halo Charged Scab is blue and 4 for a 4/4 zombie. And when it enters the battlefield, each player mills 2 cards. And so there's a bunch of cards that do this where each player mills 2 cards. And then and the next thing it says is then you may put an instant sorcery or battle card from your graveyard on top of your library. And so there's a bunch of these that like have everybody mill and then you do something with all graveyards now that they're a little bit bigger. And so they didn't name this, but it's on a bunch of cards in the set. So expect to see it come up a bunch where like everybody's going to mill 2 and then you do something with it.
Yeah.
All right, now on to individual card notes. Starting with Cut Short.
Cut Short. White and 2 for an instant. It is Convoke, so you can use your creatures to pay for this. It says destroy target planeswalker that was activated this turn or tapped creature. And that probably sounded pretty clear because like I put pauses in it. I had to read this card twice.
No, that is really strange, Rob. You're not wrong.
Yeah. I just don't understand why they didn't put it the opposite way.
I agree.
The other order.
Why isn't it just destroy target planeswalker or tapped creature?
The Planeswalker needs to have been activated this turn.
Well, what Planeswalker wasn't activated this turn?
Well, because you can cast this on your turn, right?
Yeah.
It's an instant. You can cast it on either turn,
I
right?
see.
And so, like, you might draw this and be like, I want to kill your Planeswalker. And then now you have to wait to spring the trap of you get them because they did the thing they do every turn with the Planeswalker, right?
And they activated it.
But I agree that it should be the other way because honestly, you're going to cast this against tapped creatures more often, right? It should be destroy target tapped creature. I just made it longer. I would have made it modal. Choose one, destroy target planeswalker that was activated this turn, bullet point, or destroy target tapped creature.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah, that's more clear.
Like I would have spelled this out more. This took me 2 reads. It's a simple, clean ability. It just kills a thing in the face. But like I don't know. I don't know why it got me the first time that I read it. Fertilid's Favor.
Spell.
Yeah, it's a good removal spell. Fertilid's Favor is green and 3 for an instant. Target player searches their library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target artifact or creature. I think this card's going to be super annoying to play in Arena because you have to target yourself and you're not going to realize, because why would you have to target yourself for land fetch?
Yeah. Because you could, but this card is like, in Two-Headed Giant, you could target.
Well, this is actually because it targets a creature. And so if they removed the creature, right, then the whole thing would fail to resolve. And so they want to make sure that you get the lands even if they kill the creature in response.
Yeah.
And so like from a structural rules perspective, if you cast a spell targeting a creature and that creature is not there when it goes to resolve, well, the whole spell doesn't have an effect. But they want both effects to happen regardless. So they need you to target yourself so that not all of the targets have been removed unless somehow you die, in which case you probably didn't care anyways.
I still want that land.
Yes, right. I'm still going to search my library. Hey, you do you, friend.
That land.
Yeah, do whatever. That's fine. I'm gonna pack up and start shuffling for the next game. It's just be aware in Arena. The first you're gonna click this spell to cast it, and then it's gonna be like choose a target player. You'd be like,
you're like, what?
For what? Why? Yeah, well, gotta click myself, huh? Sunder the Gateway is another one I want to talk about. White and 1 for a sorcery. Choose 1. Destroy target non-token artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Incubate 2. Create an incubator token with 2+1/+1 counters on it and 2 mana. Transform this artifact. It transforms into 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. Or incubate 2, then transform an incubator token that you control. The target non-token artifact or enchantment is a weird rider, right? They don't want you to kill incubators.
Yeah, it's just saying, hey, you can't get those tokens.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The set's going to be full of these incubator tokens that have been created, and they don't want this arbitrary disenchant to be just the best removal in the set, I think. So you're going to be surprised. You're going to be like, but I want to kill it. I want to have a disenchant.
I'm sorry, man.
Yep. The Invasion of Belanon. The siege, the front face is white and 2. It starts with 5 defense counters. When Invasion of Belanon enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. And then when you defeat it, it is cast as Belanon War Anthem.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Creatures you control get +1/+1. And this elephant is very happy to be hitting things with its wind hammers. But the thing with sieges, and this came up with the pre-release, is the sieges will do their thing in the middle of combat, right? You'll defeat them in the middle of combat. You'll exile them and cast them right then. And this one lets you do something weird because if you defeat it with first strike, it'll get cast in the middle of combat and make your creatures bigger, right?
Sick.
And so you might like first strike away the Belanon War Anthem, and then your normal creatures without first strike will get bigger to deal more damage in the middle of combat. And so it doesn't wait when you defeat the siege and go to cast it. You cast it right then, usually during combat.
Yeah.
To do its thing.
Nice.
This also is a combat trick because like you can attack either them or the siege. They block or don't block, and then you kill the siege with a burn spell, and then exile it, and then cast it transformer to make your creatures bigger. So,
I want to try that.
Yeah, this one is much trickier than it looks like actually. For just like an uncommon, fairly basic text, I was kind of surprised.
Do you have the one sentence about Belanon? Do you know what that plane is? Looks like
Plane of Knights.
An elephant.
It's
plain.
Yeah, well, the flavor text is
sort of
as a flute turns breath into music, so we are the vessel through which the sacred winds produce glorious justice. I don't actually I assume that this is Plane Chase 2.
Belanon is an animal humanoid plane where all the creatures are some kind of quote animal person.
That's like every plane. Every plane has 2 or 3 animal persons.
Many of them are organized in knightly orders, but I think on this plane they are all
animal.
Okay, sure. So when Chandra planeswalks there, they're like, What are you? Yeah, you were very weird.
Are you some kind of weird monkey snake?
Yeah, are you a hairless cat with bad ears?
I'm trying to. How would you describe a human if you'd never seen a human with 2 animals?
No, there's also humans on Belanon.
Oh, okay.
So its theme is every other plane, right?
Yeah.
All right, Belanon.
They're knights. They're about knights.
You're a plane. Plane back home. Okay,
they have mystical sacred winds. It sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to a mystical sacred wind elephant knight's plane. That seems great, but so Botanical Brawler. Botanical Brawler is white-green for a creature, elemental warrior. It's a 0/0. It has trample. It enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it. And whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on another permanent you control, if it's the first time +1/+1 counters have been put on that permanent this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Botanical Brawler. It's a very weird trigger condition.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything that's like, well, track how many times you put counters on that permanent there, bucko. It'll also track counters that came out before it came out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be a little careful with this guy.
Right. If you have say if you incubate, which puts counters on the incubator token, right? And then you play Botanical Brawler and then somehow try to put counters in the incubator token again later in the turn, it'll have seen that counters were placed on it already.
Yeah, and be like, no.
No. So you like it's kind of a weird thing to track. It's just like your first spell of the turn or whatever, but you have to track it per permanent, which is a little strange to me. I don't know why this is an elemental and not a centaur, but like.
Oh yeah, it is a centaur made of.
Oh
trees.
no! Maybe that's a Phyrexian centaur getting beat up.
I can't tell.
Yeah, it's a little unclear to me.
I think.
Oh, those are plants inside that? Is that a Celestia?
I think it's like a Celestia.
Celestian.
It's like alive plants inside of some kind of architectural stuff.
Okay, they just picked a centaur
That
as
looks
its
like
shape.
a centaur.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That is
Okay, that makes
roughly
sense.
centaur.
That makes
If you
sense.
could pick your own shape, wouldn't you pick centaur?
No.
Well,
No, yeah, me either.
okay. So, like from a practical perspective, I couldn't use chairs anymore.
You wouldn't need to use a chair.
Would I sleep standing up? Do I get a bed again?
Yeah, I guess you do sleep standing up, but you could lay in a bed. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah, I feel like I would get two backs and I would have twice as many back problems. I like
That does seem-
maybe
that
I'm
does
just
seem like
I'm just getting old.
And
like
twice as many knees.
oh gosh. Yeah, this
That's
is
a fair point.
But I get shoes made out of metal, which would ruin every house I ever go into. Wait, okay.
Rob's really.
All right, there's no upside.
Also, just as a note on this, incubator tokens generally they enter with the counters.
they enter
on
with
them.
the counters.
So this does not see.
Well, but their counters being placed on the permanent as it enters.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so,
So it
it's
counts.
put on another permanent. It counts. It'll see
right.
the counters being put in incubators and plus an incubator.
It's like, here I come
Great.
onto the battlefield. Oh, there's my counters getting on it.
Yep. Yep.
Bizarre.
Norn's Inquisitor. White and 1 for a creature, Phyrexian Knight. It's a 1/1. When Norn's Inquisitor enters the battlefield, incubate 2. So you're going to make that incubator with
egg.
2. Yep. And whenever a permanent you control transforms into a Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So we talked about the 3 kinds of transforming. This gets the first kind, the things that transform in place. The anything that is cast transformed or exiles and enters the battlefield transformed doesn't get additional +1/+1 counters.
Right. So yeah, Shieldred does not.
Yeah, Shieldred, Elshnorn, like Jin-Gitaxis, they don't get extra counters from this guy, even though like they're the big boss Phyrexians, right? They don't transform into a Phyrexian. They get placed on the battlefield as a Phyrexian. Yeah. So just this is all of the ones with the Phyrexian mana activated transforms, basically, are the things that this does. Just be aware. I mean, if you're transforming back into the front face, as mentioned, you probably have already won the game.
Yes.
But like, don't be that disappointed when Norn's Inquisitor doesn't give you counters. Also, this might be the best art in the set.
It's
This
very good.
art is very
really
good.
cool.
Like they gave him the style guide for Innistrad and they gave him the style guide for Phyrexia. They said put those together.
Make them
Yeah.
kiss.
Yeah, and so I look at this and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going on here, and I am not happy.
It's spooky. It's good and spooky.
So the Corruption of Tawashi is blue and 4 for an enchantment. When Corruption of Tawashi enters the battlefield, incubate 4. So you get a counter or a token with 4 counters on it. Whenever a permanent you control transforms or a permanent enters the battlefield under your control transformed, you may draw a card. Do this only once each turn. This trigger is a little different from the previous one. This does get the Praetors because they enter transformed. It also gets the battles because they enter the battlefield on the transform side after being cast. So they enter the battlefield already transformed because they were cast transformed.
This card is like great.
This card is just
Very
you
cool.
you get a 4/4 on layaway and then you'll
draw a
just get
card.
to draw a bunch of cards. But you'll get to draw a card eventually. When you flip the incubator,
Right.
is when you get to draw a card. And you only get 1 extra card from this each turn, but honestly, you're probably just going to draw an extra card from that. But this is a different trigger condition, so be aware of it. And it doesn't care Phyrexian or not or anything. Like just all transforming is going to get you cards. The Invasion of Prerelease.
All right, what's Prerelease?
I don't. It looks like they're
All right.
they're
Megan's on
on
it.
You
bird
keep
snakes.
talking about
yeah.
this.
So this is a blue green for a battle siege. It starts with 4 defense counters. When Invasion of Prerelease enters the battlefield, scry 3. Then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land or a double-faced card, draw a card. This doesn't care whether they're transforming double-faced cards or modal double-faced cards. You'll draw a card either way.
Oh, Prerelease is actually sick. Keep talking, and then I'll tell you about
Gargantuan Slabhorn is what happens when you defeat this. It is a beast. It is green and blue. It has trample and ward 2. Other transformed permanents you control have trample and ward 2.
Oh my god.
So this will let you get ward at instant speed sometimes. This does not behave the way that you want. So if I cast a lightning bolt targeting your permanent, you respond by using your lightning bolt to defeat the invasion of Prerelease, transform to the Slabhorn, and give ward to your other transformed permanent. It's too late. Ward only applies when the spell is cast.
Oh, interesting.
That is a trigger based on like when you cast or you target it with a trigger or activated ability. The ward kicks in. You have to pay the mana for it.
I would not have thought that's how it worked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you transform and the thing's already been cast or activated targeting that transformed object, giving it ward doesn't save it. They've tried to avoid giving ward at instant speed. This mostly won't give ward at instant speed, but it can. There's plenty of ways to kill a battle at instant speed in this set. So
Interesting.
Prerelease is a Dyson sphere.
Oh wow!
So that means it's a sphere around a star, and they live on the inside of the sphere.
Holy cow!
and they have giant flying bird snakes.
Yes, and also their vegetation, like all of the plants, are extremely large. Like the plants are huge here.
Well, the scale of a Dyson sphere is very hard to conceive of. Like
infinitely.
I want to
large.
go to this plane.
Right? This is pretty sick.
Well, that's the thing is that you can go to this plane. This plane has more landmass than every plane we've ever visited times 1,000.
And that's why it cares about land.
1,000 million. Yeah. Like if it's a tiny Dyson sphere, I guess if it's a tiny star and it's smaller than Mercury, it might only be 10,000 times the size of every place you've ever visited.
That's it,
Like,
just 10,000.
Of all the 10,000 times more than every place we've ever visited combined.
Yeah.
Like Dyson spheres are very large.
The original Horizon Canopy from Future Sight
Oh wow!
is this place.
Horizon Canopy, a
it's
card I know
Prerelease.
and love.
That is a great
That's
thing.
very cool.
All right.
So I'm going to skip the front face of the next one because I don't actually care about it. Ephara, the Ever Shielding. So she's the back face of one of the battles. She's a legendary enchantment creature god. She's from the invasion of Theros. Ephara, she's a 4/4, and she has lifelink and indestructible as long as you control at least 3 other enchantments. And whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So if you have 3 other enchantments with her, she's indestructible. You can get in combat, they'll block with a 4/4, their 4/4 will die, you'll have 4 damage marked on you. Then they disenchant one of your enchantments. You will still have 4 damage marked on you if it's the same turn. Indestructible doesn't make you immune to damage, it just means that the threshold for killing you doesn't exist. There's no amount of damage that would kill you. But once you stop being indestructible, which doesn't happen very much, usually you're indestructible until end of turn, which is at the same duration for damage to wear off. But Ephara can lose indestructible randomly in the middle of combat with disenchants. And so then she'll die because she had some damage marked.
Okay.
So it's a weird thing that can come up. You just usually think about indestructible being there all the time, basically. So the invasion of Arcavios, and this is one of the battles you talked about last week. It's blue 3 for a battle siege. Starts with 7 defense counters. When Invasion of Arcavios enters the battlefield, search your library, graveyard, and or outside the game for an instant or sorcery card you own, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. This is Strixhaven, by the way. Yeah. So you get to search your outside the game. I think this is the first time that phrase has appeared on a card, which isn't a zone. So this is going to have rule support because search your outside the game doesn't make any sense because it's not a zone. You can't search it. Usually you would just choose a card from outside the game and bring it into the game.
Oh, I see. Choose versus search.
Yeah, because like it's okay. Somewhere in my bedroom,
Right.
It's somewhere in my bedroom. I have hidden. Somewhere in here, there's a magnum opus, right? I have to search for it. It's just very weird.
Just means your
Once
sideboard,
again,
everybody.
probably for like the chunk of text, they're like, cut it down.
Yep. This one got reminder text though. They could have added another 2 lines of text on this one. They were a little they were conservative here. They could have rewritten it. Lazotep Convert, which is the second half of the invasion of Amonkhet. Lazotep Convert is a creature zombie, and it says you may have Lazotep Convert enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard, except it's a 4/4 black zombie in addition to its other types. So this is a huge dude. It lets you copy a creature in a graveyard. It lets you copy the transform creatures that have the activated ability that lets you transform. That's very cool. So then you activate it, and you transform back into the invasion of Amonkhet with 0 counters and die.
And now it's just gone forever.
Yes. This is the way in this set to actually do this. You could just do this with commons and uncommons.
Don't get fancy.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure that Arena will handle it fine. It'll be like, yep, you transformed, because transforming lets you go either direction and transform no face cards. It's like you've created a battle. Cool.
You did it, buddy.
Yep, great. I'm impressed.
Get
to
in
the
the
graveyard. Yep, state-based action. It is very weird that you could just do this at uncommon in this set.
You did it, friend.
Yes.
Death time.
Yep. So just don't activate those abilities. Copy those creatures. A bunch of their front faces are very good, but activating that ability will make you have a bad time. Wicked Slumber is blue and 3 for an instant. It has Convoke, so you can tap your creatures for it. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Put a stun counter on either of them. Then put a stun counter on either of them.
Nice.
I just thought it was cool text. You get to either stun both things once or stun one thing twice. They could have phrased this differently, but I love the do it. No, do this again. But it actually it has real meaning to do it.
It's nice and flexible.
Yeah. Tandem Takedown is green 1 for an instant. Up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. They each deal damage equal to their power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. I had to actually reread this. This is another one where I thought the phrasing was a little strange, mostly because the target creature, planeswalker, battle feels long to me. You pick 2 things you control, you pick one other thing, and they both punch it.
Yeah.
Is the end result. I'm also really not sure why they don't say another target non-player, right? Because Lightning Bolt is 3 damage to any target, so they could say another target non-player. But
have they ever said target non-player?
Well, not phrased like that. Like this would require rule support. The rules don't actually support any target having something shoved in between like that right now, but they could. It'd be less words. I think it would read better. And then if they add another planeswalker battle damageable type, that would let this target it.
Think about it, Wizards.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Well, the other thing is it makes it hard for them to reprint any of these cards, because these cards like spell out battle explicitly on them, and if they don't have battles come up very much, then just having stuff that refers to a battle in a set with no battles is very strange. They won't do it. They'll print another card instead. I like cards to be reprintable.
This next art is
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Jason did such a good job on this. This is Jason Rainville. It is Storm the Seed Core. Green 2 for a sorcery. Distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among up to 4 target creatures you control. Creatures you control gain vigilance and trample until end of turn. So if you have something that distributes something among targets, damage or counters are the things that get done this way. They are distributed during targeting. So if you target 3 creatures with this, one of them gets 2 counters, right? Because you have 4 counters to give and three people to give them to. Your opponent knows which one gets more counters in the circumstance, because you have to distribute 2 to that during targeting, 1 to this during targeting, and 1 to this third thing. So they can know which one is going to get the biggest buff and then interact with that appropriately with this on the stack.
Yeah.
Hoarding Broodlord. Black 5
Cutie, it's a cutie.
It's very this is by Maria's standards of cute. This is an
Classic
extraordinarily
Maria
cute
cute
card.
card.
Like I have one that I think is actually cuter for Maria's standards
Ooh,
of cute,
okay,
which also
great.
I think you're going to think is very gross. But
Great, we're here
Oh,
for
I'm
it.
excited.
Always.
Black 5 for Hoarding Broodlord. It's a dragon. It's a 7/6. It is Convoke, so you can use your creatures to pay for it, and you probably will with 8 mana. And it is flying, and when Hoarding Broodlord enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it. And then a separate line of text, which is spells you cast from exile have Convoke. So this is a static, the spell that you exiled, you're going to be able to Convoke unless the Broodlord is somehow dead. Because these are separate abilities, but you'll still be able to cast it. It's going to sit out in exile, and then you can cast it from exile forever. It'll only have Convoke as long as the dragon's alive. With that said, I've already seen some lists for this because we were brewing around this because we think it's super cool that you could go fetch like Malakir Rebirth, which is a single black spell that says if if target creature dies this turn, return to the battlefield under your control. So you can't
get rid of this, buddy.
Well, it's extra good because like if they try to get rid of it, you Malakir Rebirth it dies and comes back and gets you a different, better
get
thing.
Another one.
Or something better because
something better.
they like spend their turn trying to get rid of it and you're like, nah. And then you just get something better as a payload. Galta and Mavrin. White, green, 3 for a legendary creature dinosaur vampire. It's a 12/12 with trample. Whenever you attack, choose one. Either create a tapped and attacking XX green dinosaur creature token with trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures, so not counting Galta and Mavrin. Or you create X1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is the number of other attacking creatures.
Wow.
So you either count up, you go wide, you count how many different attackers you have and make that many vampires, or you count your single biggest other thing that is attacking alongside Galta and Mavrin and make a dinosaur. But they do different things. If you note, the dinosaur creature token is tapped and attacking.
Dinos always be attacking.
Yes, they want to fight. The vampires are not. So the
just chilling.
Yeah, they're just chilling and they block really well. So usually you get to attack with all your creatures and make a bunch of blocking vampires. But be aware that they're going to do different things. And so if you need blockers, the dinosaur starts tapped and doesn't block. The vampires do. If you need to kill your opponent, the dinosaur creature token is trample and probably kills them dead. So like pick a path to adventure. City on Fire. Red 5 for an enchantment. It is Convoke, so you're going to want to pay its 8 mana with some of your creatures. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead.
Hot dang.
Nasty.
Yes. It has one problem with it, which is that nobody understands how trample works. So
Accurate.
yeah. So the way trample actually works in a technical rule sense is, so I attack with a 4/4 with trample, you block with a 2/2. It changes the rules for how I assign damage. I look at how much toughness that creature has, how much damage it already has marked, and then I can assign, excess damage up to the player, right? Mm-hmm. But the damage is all picked during this. So I assign 2 to your blocker and then 2 to you during damage assignment. Then damage happens. If your creature has a thing that says prevent anytime damage be dealt to it, prevent 1 of that damage, that would knock down that 2 to 1, but I didn't have to take that into account. I don't look ahead when I'm assigning trample damage. So in this case, I would assign 2 to your creature, and I would assign 2 to you. They would both triple. Your creature would take 6, and so would you.
But you do still have to assign 2
you still
to
have
the
to
creature.
assign. Like it looks like that 4/4 has 12 power. But it kind of does, but you don't get it in the way that you want when you're trampling, right? Again, this came up during the pre-release. I saw an extensive set of judge commentary. They're like, "Oh no, this isn't going to work the way that people want as soon as this trample creature attacks." And I was like, "Yep, I agree. You are all correct." So yeah, that was a big deal that came up. Brawl and Carry Zev. Red 1 for a legendary creature human. They're a 2/4 with first strike and menace. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you may cast a spell with lesser mana value that shares a card type from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, create First Mate Ragavan, a legendary 2/1 red monkey pirate creature token. It gains haste until end of turn.
Cute.
So there's now a third Ragavan that we get to create. You can collect the whole set of Ragavans if you want.
What if can I have
Ragavan.
multiple Ragavans
Ragavan.
on the battlefield?
You can have all three different Ragavans because they have different names.
Oh,
right?
okay, great.
Because the Ragavan Nimble Pilferer is a different card from the Ragavan that the old carries have created.
Okay.
It was just named Ragavan, I'm pretty sure.
And then the Ragavan, that's the
This one is First Mate Ragavan.
yeah, this is First Mate Ragavan. He got promoted from just being a thief.
from poop deck duty.
Yes. So things with this, first it's going to create that token if you elect not to cast something. This, like a lot of cards, tracks the stuff that's happened overall. It asks the state of the game, not what it can see, but what the game could have seen about stuff. So if you cast another spell, let's say
always watch.
You're right.
Yeah.
Let's say that you have like 6 mana. You cast a divination effect to draw 2 cards. You draw Brawl and Carry Zev, and then you cast Brawl and Carry Zev afterwards. And then you cast another spell. Your next spell, you cast that divination first. Well, that next spell after Brawl and Carry Zev is not your first instant or sorcery for the turn.
Gotcha.
So you don't get to.
They're not resetting time.
Yeah, they're not resetting time. They get to know about things that happened before them. So you won't get to get the free cast or Ragavan off of the spells cast subsequent to them if you cast an instant or sorcery before them. But like the failure condition is make a free monkey.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Free monk.
My last one is Archangel Elspeth. Because she has incredible armor and white 2. She's a legendary planeswalker. Elspeth starts with 4 loyalty. She's +1 to create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. -2. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types and gains flying. -6. Return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So her -2 doesn't have a duration. Like that, she just dubs somebody permanently an angel.
All right.
Yep.
Hey, you angel now.
Yep.
You want to fly?
She doesn't give a flying token for whatever reason. She just gives it flying. Like she could give it a flying
like
counter.
a flying counter.
Yeah, she could get a flying counter. She doesn't, even though there's other uses of literal flying counters in the set. She's just like, no.
She's too radiant for that. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm not distributing flying counters. I'm distributing the real deal.
Yeah, the actual essence of flying. Like, yes.
This is no counter.
Gotta say though, a little bit harder to track.
I agree. The thing is that because she puts 2 +1/+1 counters on it, it's usually pretty okay. And you'll remember it's an angel. If you're playing digitally, it'll be like, it'll put angel in the type line. It'll say flying. It works perfectly fine digitally.
Paperly.
I don't like this punishing paper and making me remember more when I'm playing paper games. I already remember enough stuff. So
You're already remembering how to do some weird stuff with battles.
Yes. The other thing is her -6 will return battles. And it will return battles with X in the cost. So like the Invasion of Phyrexia, which is a wonderful card from a flavor standpoint, but really makes me angry because it behaves thematically differently than every other battle. And I don't like, it's very strange that there's one that's reversed from everything else, right? Because all the other ones are Phyrexia invading something, but the invasion of New Phyrexia is Zalfir invading Phyrexia. So why does it behave exactly the same?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Speaking of battles,
Yes.
because we've come to the end of the list.
Yeah, we come to the end of my list of stuff, my 35 pages of doc or whatever.
Just because we were talking about other planes that we've been like, where have we heard of this? I just wanted to tell you all about Segovia in case you did not know about Segovia. Invasion of Segovia is 2 and a blue for a 4 defense battle, and it says when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue Kraken creature tokens with trample. And you might ask yourself, why does a 1/1 have trample, and also why is this Kraken only a 1/1?
Yep.
It's because Segovia is the land of little miniatures.
Yes.
Oh my god!
And so, do you know what? On Segovia, a 1/1 is freaking huge, man.
Right. It's unclear whether this is a retcon. Segovian Leviathan's like a 3/3 for 4.
Yes.
And
that's
they
cute.
show this picture of this Leviathan, but it's a 3/3 for 4. And so that you look at it, you're like,
How
why
do you
is
spell Scovia?
Segovia.
Okay, sorry.
And you can see, like, the art of Invasion of Segovia is the foot of a Phyrexian.
Yeah. And so it's come up a couple times. Segovian Angel's the other one that you just pulled up.
1/1.
Yeah, it's a 1/1 angel for 1. It's a huge angel on Segovia.
It's so Anyways.
That's so
it's
cute.
adorable. Like it's one of those like joke planes that gets brought up every once in a while.
It's so cute. Yeah. Cutest, Sea Tyrant of Segovia.
Is a 3/3.
Is the backside. It's a 3/3. It's big spooky 3/3, man.
Yep.
Whoa, the Leviathan has a flavor text from the Bible?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Well, I've never in my whole days seen such a thing. Is that a real Bible quote? Anybody?
Yeah, it's from Job. So the thing is that in core sets, oftentimes they would have quotes from real world texts.
Back in the day, they would do
back
this?
in the day in old core sets, they would just put real world text. Everything from Arabian Nights is obviously like from the Hadaway translation.
This says Leviathan too. Can you catch him with a fish hook or run a line round his tongue? The Bible. Job 41:1.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Leviathan's canon. All right, got
Yep.
it.
Anyways, it's just...
That's very cute.
It's cute. It's a cute plane.
Yes.
Let's go to Scovia. Let's go to Scovia.
Yeah, we're gonna have our planeswalkers planeswalk to Segovia where they accidentally step on a city.
Yeah.
Like
I think actually, like canonically, they get shrunk down to scale.
really?
That's what this page says. When
Interesting.
planeswalkers visit this plane, they are automatically shrunk down to scale.
Honey, I shrunk the planeswalkers.
So the hippodrome is their place, right? That's the plane for plane chase. That's Segovia. The hippodrome.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Anyways.
And it shrinks creatures, right? Like it shrinks when you go there as a plane chase plane.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted everyone to know about Segovia.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
Where a
factoid.
1/1 has trample because it's enormous.
Yes. It's very funny. So that's my run through of stuff for this set.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rob.
The set has a lot of things going on. A lot of them are under the hood. Battles are just very new. It's very interesting. Don't transform your battles back into battles.
It's a takeaway.
Yeah, that's the takeaway is like you will do this once and then be sad about your life. The other thing that I wanted to mention at the end of the individual card notes is there are Multiverse Legends cards that show up in the packs, right? Just like inventions, just like expeditions and whatever. They are legendary creatures from throughout history. They include all of the companions. So if you have not played with Companion before, they make additional rules for deck building, and then you can pay 3 mana to move them from your sideboard to your hand. You reveal them at the start of the game, though, so your opponent knows that you will. So if you're playing Giganta, the Wellspring, you only have things with 1 mana symbol on them.
Right.
So anything that costs white 1 turns off Giganta, the Wellspring. And so you'll run into these you'll run into these companions every once in a while in Limited. I think they're cool build-arounds. In Limited, I think the Companion's a perfectly great mechanic. As for Magic as a whole, I think it's the worst mechanic ever made.
Wow.
So, like, it's just an egregious mistake. But
here they come,
yeah,
baby.
here they come. They're coming back. They're very cool art. These Multiverse Legends cards are very cool. They're people defending themselves from Phyrexia or cool Phyrexians from the past. It's got a bunch of old Phyrexian Praetors and stuff that are showing up. And so you might run into Kenrith, the Returned King. Spoilers, the pre-release had Kenrith, the Returned King. Have you ever seen that card in Limited?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Nasty. I mean, haven't I?
No.
Why
It's
not?
never been in a Limited set before.
Kenrith?
Yeah.
What am I
that's
thinking
right. It
of?
was a box topper.
Yeah, it was the box topper for the set. It was.
So you
it-
played
I remember-
against Kenrith.
You've played it in constructed. I've windnoded Kenrith onto the battlefield
Oh,
100
yeah.
times, right?
You're right.
But it,
Yeah.
it was never
It was a
available in
box
Limited.
topper.
In Limited, the card is unbelievable. It has single red, give all your permanents haste.
Woof.
Like,
Yeah.
I was just, I was remembering it from Winota days.
right, and you play it because the card is very powerful. It's pitched towards constructed. It's never been in Limited before. It is a beating. And so, like, there's a bunch of these that are just like commander cards. Like, have you ever played against Azuri Claw of Progress? No, you've never done it before in Limited because it's never been in Limited. So you're gonna end up with these oddball cards that, like, I could run down all of these of like you get experience counters or whatever, but like read the cards. You might have played against them previously in Commander or whatever. They're generally pretty clear about what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone, it's time for Grossest card. Shout out to lots of real gross stuff.
I'm sure there's a lot in this
Tons
set.
of good gross stuff. But let me tell you, there's nothing quite like bloated processor looking at you with its spooky little face. All right.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. And also its spooky little kind of like mask face is looking right at you. And then also it has this weird like incubation, like stomach situation.
Yeah.
Nope, not about it.
Oh,
Bad time.
man.
Don't look at me with your spooky face.
I
okay?
definitely put that on the cutest card list for sure.
And do you know what, Rob? You're right. That is a gross card. Okay.
What did you think I was going to pick for cutest card, Rob?
Bloated Pest was an option. There's also Placid Rottentail. Like Placid Rottentail is just
the
like
little rabbit.
It's a fungus rabbit. It's just eating flowers. It's having a grand old time. I figured that was that Bloated Pest and Placid Rottentail would be very high contenders.
Yeah.
Overgrown Pest is like actually pretty cute. I take it back. It's not too gross.
Okay. I was looking at it, was like, it is like dripping
Its
goop
face is
from its face, and it
pretty
looks
close to being
very,
gross, but
like
Pretty close to being gross.
it's pretty.
but there's a bunch of like good foxes. There's obviously Skittering Surveyor. Like, how
Let
do you
me
avoid?
tell you that this set has more cute cards than I can remember in my recent memory. I pulled them up and I have a tab of like 10 of them up right now.
Yeah.
You mentioned Skittering Surveyor, which won cutest card. And then in fact won cutest card of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
The year that it came out because it was so cute.
Yeah.
Everybody loves skits.
Yeah.
And it did a very cute thing, which was fetch you a land and help fix your mana. And it's back. And then there's other ones that are nods to cards which have won cutest card in the past. For example, Etched Familiar.
Yep.
Used to be Filigree Familiar,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure
Yeah, yeah.
also won its year.
Almost certain. Well, yeah, I
was
know
for
it won
sure
its
on the
first
list.
set.
Yeah.
But for its year, I don't remember.
Yeah, for
but
its
I
set.
think I think it might have.
So like you have those kinds of callbacks. There's just, there's just so many that are cute in this.
Yeah,
that
there's these boys.
Which ones are those? Referee Squad.
Yeah, Referee Squad.
Little alien looking things.
They're homunculi.
There's
like they're very serious about stunning their opponent's creatures because they want to enforce the rules in the battle bond plane on whichever that one is.
There's very cute team ups. Thalion
Yep.
the Gitrog monster, for example.
I have opinions about the team ups. I'm actually angry.
But we've talked about this card already in the show, and there's no way it can't win cutest card,
Okay.
which is Inga Inasika. So sorry,
Yep.
Rob,
It's
it's
just
a
the
team
cutest
up.
time.
Yep. No,
There's
no,
nothing
they are
that
so
can be done.
happy. They're riding a rainbow with two cats. Like,
Yeah.
And those cats are so fluffy.
There
was
Cats
just no
are so
contest.
fluffy.
yes.
There are so many cute cards in this set, but they just cannot compete with cats
Look at these big fluffy boys
carrying a cart over a rainbow. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want? Anyway, congratulations, Inga Inasika. You are the cutest card, and you'll probably win cutest card of the year and probably best art of the year. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Best art of the
We
year?
love this art.
Look at it.
It's good, but best?
We have different opinions of what it means
right.
to be
It's
best.
fine. Best art is subjective.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, Rob.
But it is, there's something just so like, they're just something so vibrant and
Yes.
imaginative and like
it when every other card is like a monster that wears its organs on the outside, like killing a monkey,
Yeah.
and you're like, no, this one we're
This
just
one.
joy.
exactly.
yes, pure joy, Inga Inasika.
Well, Rob, thank you as always so much for coming on the show.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Yeah.
I'm excited for upcoming things. I'm excited about the fact that we got to do Oathbreaker. Like, I had so much fun
Yes.
Yes.
with our
We've got
other
more
playthrough.
Oathbreaker
Yes,
coming
we have
up
more
soon.
coming up.
Yeah, everybody, if you didn't check out the video yet, go check it
Yeah.
out.
And make sure you go check out Magic Kids. You can
Yes.
get magic cards for a school.
Yeah, if you're part of an educational group working with kids and you want to get Magic involved with that, we will ship you out kits for free if you head to magickids.org. So, and it's pretty broad what we cover. We've covered church groups, we've covered after school clubs, we've covered boys and girls clubs, youth penitentiaries have asked us for things, and we'll ship them out. We did over 400 kits shipped out last year.
Holy cow.
And
Yeah. So
and
cool.
we're partnered with Card Kingdom for fulfillment on it, and so we're just working together to get a bunch of good stuff done with a bunch of good people.
Well, everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five.
Thank you so much to Judge Rob,
Yes.
always for coming on and sharing all of his amazing judge knowledge, always having all of our collective backs.
Absolutely. Judge Rob will pop into the YouTube comments. If you've got a question that we did not address on the show, he stops by for about a week after the episode posts.
Another great reason also to be on our Discord.
Absolutely.
He's on the Discord
He's on the
all the time,
Discord.
chatting with people about stuff.
Yeah, you
So,
can just tag him. He'll answer your question.
Yeah. Thank you once again to our new patrons, Victor, Wing, and Franz.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Victor, may you be the victor in all of your matches this weekend.
Wow.
Wing, you are the win beneath our wings.
Absolutely.
Franz, now we're
your
Franz.
Same page. Would you like a pun based on your name?
Hey.
Become a patron. Oh my God. Somebody left a YouTube comment that was like, so you're telling me that if I become a patron, I get to watch buckets of snow melt in Meghan's sink? Where do I sign? And I legitimately don't know if they're being sarcastic or not. Because I don't know. Some people think that sounds like a good
Do you
time.
know what? Yeah.
And maybe it is.
Oh man, I still need to post that video.
Yeah.
Once again, it took so long that the file is big enough that Discord's like, you can't upload this.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to get Nitro just for
Just
uploading
for this joke.
videos of buckets of snow
Worth
melting in my sink.
it. Everybody, thank you to Card Kingdom as well for being our amazing sponsor. Let us know on if you want to, jump in the Discord if you're a patron, show off your
Jump in the Discord.
Jump in the Discord. If you want to show us your sealed deck, you can tweet at us.
Jump around.
Jump around. And show us what you opened, because I love to see people's pools, because we're all figuring it out together with the pre-release, which I think is very cool. It's one big collective puzzle that millions of people around the world are trying to solve at the exact same time. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Mother's Day. See you next week.